Well, not all is well in the universe. There are places where there is darkness, places even within our own hearts. For it was as though thousands of voices just cried out and were suddenly silenced the other day when Darth Call's channel was taken from us. It was just really brutal.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm really glad you're here. How's it been?
I'm doing pretty well, man. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
I feel like Geraldo Rivera in Iraq right now interviewing a child that just had their home burned down.
Well, I know that maybe you think the smell of your burning house is a bad thing, but look on the bright side. Literally, it's sunny out. You're getting your vitamin D necessary to make your own stake in this world, which I don't know how you're going to do at this point because it's entirely destroyed. Thank you for being here, Geraldo.
It smells like goat. There must be goat burning somewhere. It's an optimist point of view.
I should go over and check. Yes.
Travis just yeeted. Thank you, Travis. It's important. Guys, I got a special request tonight. There's a link in the chat in the top. It says join this channel. That's to call to the new call channel. And
hopefully we get the old one back, but yeah.
In the meantime, building up a backup is not a bad plan. Let's see if we can get him a few hundred people right now, 1,000 people, like by tomorrow, and then he'll be back on his way to just
join the Sith Academy. Adventure awaits.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've never had anything like that happen to me before. As a whatever it is that I am, I don't really know what I am or how I would describe myself, but it's crazy, man.
You're a mensch. You're a good person. It's just real. It's a shonda. It's a shonda. What's happened to you? I can't even believe it. These are Larry David terminologies, but they're very accurate to what's happening.
Oh yeah,
it's horrible.
I feel the humor and the immediacy. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't do anything. I got a thumbnail and
trying to be a positive person in the universe and try to be helpful to people. It's kind of weird because it makes me scared to, I get why people don't open up anymore. And it's because, I'm such an open and optimistic person. It's hard to believe things like this can happen. I mean, it's just hard that people do things that are so evil, and it's just like to try to take down someone's channel, I mean, making his own content. You make, audiobooks. I was just listening to your Wolf audiobook series that you did with Doug. Doug did this amazing voice for this book. And you know what? It's going to be great because now people are going to hear about it because it didn't have enough views yet anyway.
It didn't. It's true. Like re-uploading it will only be better.
Yeah. It's just, so it's a weird kind of Burning Man helter skelter, but I also have a friend who lost their TikTok account recently, which, is a good thing. It's liberating because the Chinese government aren't spying as much, but
true.
It was because they weren't dancing. It was because they were putting up videos on the truth and things like that. And then, they talked about, I think
it's because they weren't dancing.
Yeah.
That sounds like the title of the new Black Mirror episode. That sounds freaky. Yeah. Wow.
Dude, it's like Footloose, but dark,
Yeah. Nice.
Get down with that.
Dude, I mean, TikTok's interesting. I actually have had a lot of success on some videos on TikTok. Like, I think one of the Olive Garden ones got like
those are great.
I think like 180,000 views, which is a lot for me, at least on TikTok, and I got like thousands of followers just from the one video. It's interesting. So I'm sorry for your friend.
When you're here, your family with the wine sip, it's timed perfectly. It's wonderful.
Who's the dude? There's a dude I follow on TikTok, the 100th Monkey, Jake Parsons. And he's legit. I think at some point you guys will have to talk to him. He does his own video series, and it's amazing because it's like living in communist China, but in the metaverse. Like the kinds of rules, and it kind of gives you a taste of what's to come, right? Like that they're trying to stop us from talking about all these things. I mean,
they're trying to stop us from talking, Doug. Hang on, I'm going to turn the AC on.
What are we even talking about? That's so just degenerate, dangerous. There's the word. Why is
what is the threat here? Right.
Yeah. Do you
guys know that?
Well,
does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
I don't. If the AC gets loud and annoying, I'll turn it off. But it's kind of hot out here in LA. Sorry for interrupting.
What is the temp? What is the temp where you're at?
It's like 90 or some shit.
Oh man.
I know, and I'm inside.
Right?
You get the lights. Anyway, what were we talking about?
Why? Yeah.
I mean, I was going to ask about like if you thought there was a reason why they think we're so dangerous that we're talking because it used to be that they had so much power that freedom of speech was like, check it out. You can talk about, you can do whatever you want. We don't care. We have the bomb,
Well, they want to. I think it's because they want to. There's clearly a new motivation or a new goal, and that goal does not like discussion or dialogue or freedom. To put it quite simply, right? I mean, am I the only one that thinks that?
Oh, I totally do hear the fan behind you when you talk. It's
Do
like
you?
moving in between.
It's coming in. Yeah. Should I turn it off?
I mean, it's up to you. It kind of gives you like a Darth Bane kind of vibe. You know what I mean?
I'm Darth Bane.
Lost your, you know.
It is. It's not distracting at all. If it gets like little drummer boy in the background too early, we'll say something.
I really rely on Doug to know what's true about sound. Actually, I think Doug's an awesome.
I've got my ear on it.
Yeah, Doug's awesome with sound, dude. You did a great job with the werewolf shit. That shit was tight.
All right.
I'm very upset that art and story and my writing was struck down. It really.
You have copies of it, right?
Yeah.
So
we have to remake it.
We'll put it up on it'll be one of the first releases on the new channel, I would hope. And, we'll premiere it. We could have everyone watch it through the Discord, your Discord and mine. We should do like a group watching. It's freaking great. It's like a really good story, and not just a great story. Like, cause I just put out my audiobook cause I was like, man, there's just so
congratulations. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. But I only did it cause you guys did yours. And then afterwards I was like, I thought mine was pretty great cause I like my story subject, but the way you guys, the way you did the voices and the way Carl wrote the story for the voices really lent to voices and everything. And I was like, man, I got to step up my audiobook game, my writing game. Cause you have to really, give a room to an actor.
Writing.
Well, but it gave you room to explore the character, which is really cool.
Right. Because the characters were written so clearly, those moments that Darth Carl was able to kind of scalpel out of the story that he had created gave me the absolute pleasure of performing it and layering it with all of the soundscape that comes along with such exquisite scriptage.
Yeah, and we got the idea too because I liked looking into script writing and like the format of it, and I've read a bunch of scripts, and I thought it would be cool, like instead of just reading a script, what if you could listen to it and kind of see it, like an audio script basically to like pitch people. So that's kind of also But
so if you got a guy who walks into a bar, let's say you got like a dwarf that walks into a bar, right?
Yeah.
You show the dwarf, which dwarf it is, how tall the dwarf is, which kind of bar. But if you say, and that's the problem with a movie, it's this dwarf walking into that bar. But with an audiobook and in a regular story, if it's a little bit more nuanced, it's, your dwarf walking into your bar. And, the actor especially can be way more plastic because they can be more characters and they could possibly be just their own face. So it gives you so much more imagination. I think that's why they take away, it's weird. Everyone used to listen to radio drama.
They're fun, right? Like,
and Andreas, I'm curious, in your experience listening to it, engaging with it, does the experience come away as similar or different than engaging with the story through the TV?
Oh, it's way different. It's way better. It's way better.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there are things about it that are similar because, using certain kinds of sound effects will allow you to, it gives you a crutch to have your imagination use, but your imagination is still responsible. And I'm pretty sure they should do CAT scans of your brain to see the difference because it's going to be lighting up different parts of your brain. The parts where you're responding to picking up on other people's shapes are different than forming your own shapes based on your Gestalt memory. So, I mean, you're building up on, and you're also relying on these senses in ways. I mean, there's just those sounds can remind you of things. You can even describe smells and it will remind you of things. There's just so much more to
That's one of my favorite things to do, actually, is to get descriptive enough to where I can transfer somebody else smelling what I'm talking about. I think that's fun.
Yeah, right. It's a powerful thing. They definitely have limited our imagination. I think on purpose, in a sense. You've even seen with people that play video games, parts of your brain stop developing other parts of certain kinds of video games that are the trigger response rail shooter kinds of games. Essentially, they're training everyone to shoot. It's all about target acquisition as quickly as possible.
Acquisition, execution. Yeah.
Like a robot, dog.
It's good for growing a certain muscle, certain part of your brain.
Good for growing soldiers.
But it's bad for the rest of your it's bad for your creativity, perhaps.
I
got a dark, crazy idea. So, a little bit of magic here. This is the Aleister Crowley Thoth tarot deck.
Nice. Oh, cool. I'm on like that delay, just so you know, so it'll take a while for me to get the impact, but this is tight. I'm into it.
I was thinking, why don't I'm gonna count forwards. Give me a number, and I'll pull a card for each of you and myself included, and we'll put it in a 3.
1 to what?
To what is it? 78, I guess.
I can go 1 through 78.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have to count it, but I'll do it. I mean,
I'll do 13.
Oh, okay.
Were you gonna do that?
No. Are you pulling from the entire deck or like just the major arcana?
8, 9, 10.
Nerd Doug.
Did you?
Did
you shuffle appropriately?
I shuffled it hard, and I hit it after I shuffled it. And
Cool.
I think there are 78 cards that include the major, minor arcana. Okay,
Cool.
so which one do you want? What number?
Call or me?
You.
11.
Doug. 11.
Thank you.
Okay, should I do 11 beyond 13, or should I do of the first 13 that I've pulled so far?
Did you shuffle after you pulled for call?
No.
Okay, so you pulled for call. If you don't mind for me, I would appreciate if you reshuffled.
Doug wants a reshuffle.
Tap once more, please. Thank you.
If you could
I'm
please-
calling for a reshuffle. Hey, I'm calling for it, okay? I get
I
one
wish I could-
reshuffle per game.
I can't quite get that on the screen, so you're gonna have to just believe me, and hopefully you can.
I believe-
hear.
I trust you.
You can probably hear that.
Oh, I'm
I
along
did.
for the ride. This is cool.
All right. Okay.
I like card games.
Yeah, kind of a card game. It's weird how like
I like
card
using our intuition. I like
card games-
strengthening our psychic muscles.
card games come from tarot, and it's interesting if you remove the vowels and you start to think about tarot and Torah. The idea of wisdom through script and wisdom through imagery. Okay. Do you want me? You cut the cards after, or just a shuffle? What do you like?
The
Cut.
shuffle's fine. You don't have to cut it. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. This
Okay.
is it's not official.
All right. So
Appreciate it.
what
Thank
number
you.
are we pulling here out of this guy?
11.
Okay, that's right. Good call. Okay. So
That's the way.
good call.
Good call.
4, 5, 6,
Good call. Darth
8,
call.
9, 10, 11.
Cancel
Okay.
culture. Get it?
And I might as well reshuffle for myself too, just to throw us in there.
There you go. That's right.
Hold on a second.
Refresh the energy entering into the deck with a shuffle.
Refresh it.
Okay, and then I'll pull this one. I don't have to think about numbers. All right, so going from Doug to Andreas through call. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so you got Doug, the Prince of Wands, which is
Nice.
this guy here. And just gonna show the picture actually.
Please. Yeah, hold up for a little while. So when it comes up on my iPad, I'll be able to write.
I see
Whoa.
like the cat. Right, is that right? It's like a leopard and
Looks like a tiger.
tiger, and then the
Yeah.
human coming out, the Prince of Wands, and he's holding the Sun Wand, and he's got this crazy kind of hat.
Oh,
or
tight.
horns.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Should we read? I'll read like a thing. What does the Prince of Wands actually mean? Prince
Yeah.
of
Sure.
Wands. Let's see what they got.
Is
There's probably a book. It's
the
not a book in
princess?
here,
What does that
right?
say?
I should just read the book from the Crowley deck. That's probably the
It
way
says
to go.
Princess of Wands. It says Princess of Wands, which
Sorry,
I'm
yo. I
still
didn't
okay
mean
with.
to misengender your princess. That's
Did you
pretty
just assume my tarot card's gender?
fair. That's pretty fair. Okay, let's see.
Princess of Wands, yeah.
Let me get down to
Which
the
I think would probably be the page equivalent in the classic tarot.
Yeah, it's
In
cool.
the Rider Waite.
Princess of Wands in the Crowley deck represents the earthy part of fire, a young, sudden, and violent, in love or anger, enthusiastic, ill-dignified, superficial, theatrical, shallow, false, cruel, unreliable, faithless, domineering women.
Like the negative
man.
side. That's not. No.
You're a domineering woman, Doug. That's what you're. That's not you. That's what's going on to you. You're
That's
like
the
the world
energy.
is. That's the world doing this to you. There's a domineering.
Oh, okay. That was that with the question. That was the reading. Like, what's going on with me?
I always do a where are we now kind of.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a
And
where
you're-
we know. So, all right, I'm getting
and
this.
You're,
All right.
and you're the star, and then there's the ambient space around the
Got it.
superstar that is Doug.
Thanks.
So
Sounds right.
your world is in a certain amount of brilliant, passionate peril from a dangerous woman or Mother Nature and femininity, which I like. And then you got inverted wealth, which is why I was like, "What? Come on, Call. How did you get?"
Wow.
What does that mean? What's the significance of that?
Cards don't lie.
If you got wealth, that's usually a good thing. And it's the separate of the wisdom. It's beyond just money. But you invert it, and it's like something was robbed of you, which is interesting.
I mean, but that's an accurate what's going on right now.
Yeah, right.
Damn.
That's kind of nuts. So let me see if
Cards
I can
don't
find
lie.
Okay.
the wealth card. Hold on. These are just fun party favors to have for people. It's just
I would argue that I think these, as well as other tools, like you could argue the sticks that people use to find water, all these things are tapping into our subtle forces. These are tools to communicate with intuition and perhaps those that are at the realm of intuition in which it exists.
So the other thing is it's an inversion of destiny, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. It means an inversion of fortune, which could be the opposite of what your fortune was before. And so you have to remember where you were at before. It was all right, but it wasn't great. It wasn't as good as it could be. You didn't get it. You have undeservedly underrated, I think.
You were hitting this weird artificial ceiling. And it sounds like this is the end of that.
Yeah, it might be the only way out. I mean, I wish I was wise enough to have done this myself. Because if you reinvent yourself, in a sense, granted, not your choice, but you have to imagine it's impressive. And this is the thing: regardless of the channel being destroyed, you haven't been destroyed. So the metamorphosis is like, oh, there's that lightning bolt that the seismographs that were burned were about. So the lightning storm continues, which is good. All right, I got works inverted, which is pretty interesting. And so the works inverted is this triangle symbol. And I'll also, I didn't really maybe give enough of an effort to show you've got what the Sephirot is, right? But the Sephirot is, if you think about, I think we talked about the Han Solo traveling the parsec distance. This is what I was referring to, is Han Solomon and involving himself in the Sephirot and being able to get through the path as quickly as possible, because you can't do straight lines because you're going around asteroid fields. But let's see, inversion of work. How screwed am I? What is that going to say? Let's see, further. Where is that at? The Empress. No, that's all right. Disc 3 of discs. Maybe that's what I've got. 3 of disc works. Okay. Business, paid, employment, commercial transactions, constructive building up, increase of material things, growth, commencement of matters to be established later, ill-dignified, selfish, narrow, prejudiced, greedy person seeking impossibilities. So I'm going to go ahead and take the optimist approach and say the inversion of that is we're going the opposite direction of self-centering towards broadening. I'm going to try to do that with it.
I like that. That's a good say.
Yeah. See, I love the idea that you can take symbols and you can decide what you want them to mean for you. I don't think that's a bad thing.
It's kind of like
I don't think that's a bad thing
kind of like
either.
The sorting hat.
That is exactly. Hey, look, your life is guided by the choices and decisions that you make, and if you decide that this means something that can motivate you well and it's positive, that's the right choice.
I mean, yeah, I think that's maybe what's missing. People are like, oh, these are supposed to be these future telling devices, but maybe it's better just to say, hey,
it's more about communication. Yeah.
It's provoking you to think up and wrestle with abstract thoughts, and you can pull something out of that. I mean, what do you think about the power of the mind? Is that magic,
Well, yeah. What is magic? What is mind? I mean, it's. I think that human beings are way. I think human beings are way more than bodies. I think we're bodies last and beings first. And so what we in our bodies would call psychic is really just regular before we hit the body phase. But subtle senses that exist biochemically and biologically in our bodies, Ingo Swann writes about that, exist to inform us on subtle levels that can be translated in some sense as extrasensory perception or, one of the clairs. But so, and what do you think, Andreas? You are in to some deep stuff, especially with Tartaria. You must have tapped into some understanding of mind.
I'm gonna really quickly remind Nuclear One, who said, "Who's channeled at?" That this is Call 2, and so because we're trying to get everyone tonight to subscribe to Call 2.
Call 2, Return of the Call. I like it.
Return of the Call. Get it back on. And it's the Sith Academy. You know, you can get your lessons there. So yeah, definitely subscribe to that channel.
I can legitimately show you a thing or two about lightsaber combat. Just saying.
This is true.
This is true.
Yeah. Did you see that Quebec kid who, you know, the big kid, and he remember the old 4chan video of him with the lightsaber?
Oh, you mean way back when? Star Wars kid?
Yeah, Star Wars kid.
He became a lawyer, right?
Right, and he's just, I mean, I saw the saddest thing I've ever seen is this guy speaking in decent French about how horrible his life is because they made fun of me all the time. Like, they still make fun of me. Yeah, he's Quebecois, you know. But he's
not quite French and it's not quite English. It's just angry. I'm upset. Yeah.
Exactly, right. Oh, Mark has made it as well. What's up, Mark?
Welcome, Mark.
Mark,
I was about to message you like, yo, I'm in here. What's up?
Oh my god. If it's good that your thing flashes bright colors. That helps. I was like, oh yeah, there he is. Yeah.
But you need some pizzazz and flash. What's up, Darth Call? Nice to meet you.
You as well.
Up, Douglas, Mr. Douglas. Nice to see you again, brother.
Nice to see you again.
If you're just meeting Call has made some amazing audiobooks with Doug, as well as run the Better Call podcast, which is amazing. Started doing it basically at the push like me from Adam Krigler, you know, from the base crew. You know, we've been doing shows together, and he got his channel nuked out of like this anger thing, and like all that happened was he was trying to like help people out and be cool, you know, and share his channel, let people on his channel, give people like
was it a copyright thing or
copyright strike for a meme that somebody made when he invited them on the show?
Oh, so it didn't even have to do with the audiobooks at all.
No. Not at all, nothing. And it was just like a personal vendetta, and it's super sad because
which, by the way, can still be undone if someone decides to get a conscience and not be a horrible human being. So,
right? Yeah, because it's unbelievable that anyone would do that. I've imagined.
You have a Rockfin, brother?
A what?
A Rockfin account?
No, I don't even know what that is.
Oh, we got to set you up. I'll help you out.
Thank you.
I think. Well,
I'll take all the help I can get right now, bro. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I just pulled a pile of books onto my lap because one of these I think you should make an audiobook about. Maybe I'm derailing the topic you guys are on, but real quick, if I could interject. The author of this book writes on the back of it, please reprint this and use it wherever you want. And I think it's a really interesting book, The 33 Degrees of Terrorism, the Deceptive and Astonishing Global Freemasonic Design of World History. And yeah, it's free to publish, photocopy, resell, share, use it. It's a famous poster from the 90s on the cover of the book.
Ah, cool.
I
like that cover. I like it.
I've spent like too much time since meeting Doug just kind of fantasizing about all the conspiracy theory voice narrations that we're going to get him to do for the next 20, 30 years. I can just say anytime I hear anything now, I'm like, oh, Doug could do that better. Oh, this is going to be great.
What was really going on was something far worse. Yeah.
It's the guttural thing. But let me
I think there needs to be a video of him in the booth with the tinfoil hat as he records the audiobooks on conspiracy.
Ancient alien theorists say yes.
He does all the voices, high and low. But guys, you can also, and this is good for Call to check out, this is Alt Media United. And so this is something that Mark's made. It's a company kind of collective to help podcasters get their word out there, keep their word out there, avoid having their word silenced. The revolution will be televised, uploaded, deleted, you know.
Not a company or a collective. It's a cooperative of independent content creators. Nobody pays me a fee to be a part of it. It's a website that I host with people's help, of course. Podcasters help me pay for the website hosting, but yeah, we basically make it easy for a podcaster to be found. And in your case, Darth Call, if YouTube knocks your channel off, you have another link where people can find your Rumble, your Odyssey, your Rockfin account, so they can't wipe you off the face of the map. And for people who have their own website, you might be thinking, well, that's what my website does. Well, if they're targeting you, they might target your website and not your Alt Media United page. So at least you have a place to funnel people to in a emergency situation. And also we emphasize people taking their video content and creating an audio backup on an RSS feed, because thanks to one of the inventors of podcasting, Adam Curry, there's a fail-safe now. So
yeah, so this is exciting. And you're able to scrape your files from Odyssey, get your audio files, have all audio tracks, have video tracks, so people can listen to it. So this is a good idea. I think it's a thing that you can do. And also having backups, having things like Odyssey, having Rockfin. Yeah, I mean, thank you for making such a cool thing, a cooperative that people can work together, not even for the purpose of trying to make tons of money or anything. Just you want to make sure people get their word out there. So,
well, and then people ask, like, what's the catch? There's no catch. What's really been the benefit for me as the guy who created it is networking with all these amazing podcasters. And you can see it on my podcast. All the really brilliant people I talk to usually end up becoming a part of Alt Media United, just because it's naturally, what I'm inclined to invite people to do.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
So, and that goes for everyone I've been on Wednesday Ultra with as well. It's really like I'm only one person, so I can only create so many pages in a day, but there's no real restrictions. So we just want you to have content. Don't hit me up and say, oh, I'm going to start a podcast and I'll be there soon. No, reach out once you've done it.
Yeah, get your podcast that exists. Put the title in here, what brings you here, and then you can start getting yourself listed, which is that's amazing. I think that's what we need to do more.
Well, and it helps people discover content that's not going to show up in the algorithm on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube in most cases. They find one show somehow, however, and then they go to a podcast website like Alt Media United, and they're like, holy crap, I love this show, and all these other shows exist that are kind of in the same world, because we all do shows with each other too. So it's it's already a cooperative thing being a podcaster. So I just thought it'd be a natural fit. And it's not just me. Alex Xirtus, host of the Skeptical podcast, helped out a lot, and he's like my angel investor in creating it.
I'm a huge fan of his show. That's really cool. Awesome.
Good guy. He's a really good guy, and a really, really interesting, brilliant show if you haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, that's really cool. Wow. Okay. Legit. Awesome.
Yeah,
for real.
Also, Mark did an interview recently with David Icke, which was pretty cool. So
awesome.
What was that like?
As recent as March is recent, but yeah, it feels like a year ago now. He was great. He's a kind of guest that just talks, and as a host, it's really easy to just sit back and let him say everything that's on his mind, and then pick that one sentence that really grabbed me and ask him a question about it. So it was a breeze. I was nervous, but David is a really brilliant person. I have a lot of his books, so I was very comfortable talking to him. Naturally, it was probably the most profound guest I've ever had, because the first time I ever really got a taste of what conspiracy theory was when I was a teenager, it was from a song by Vinnie Paz and the Army of the Pharaohs, where they use a sample cut of David Icke, one of his talks, for the beginning intro part of this song. Cool. And I love that type of music, so I was like, who's this English guy, and finally connected the dots after being down a few YouTube rabbit holes. So that was all in high school, so now it's surreal 10 years later to be talking to the very guy who, was standing at the entrance to the rabbit hole waving.
I remember in the early days, I was like, what are the longest Google videos out there? Before YouTube, there was a Google video, and that was how I found his 7-hour talk. Yes. Like, oh, I better watch this. And it was amazing. By the way, Mark, did I show you my SubGenius expansion deck to the Illuminati game?
No, we've talked about this, and no, you never
guys
showed
play
it
the Illuminati card game?
Dude,
what?
I think
there's an Illuminati card game.
Oh,
bro, yeah.
Let's
it's hilarious and awesome.
Let's rabbit hole.
Found it.
Doug and Mark, explain.
So I found the Illuminati card game at a used bookstore on the 40th parallel in Indianapolis, Indiana, and working for Sam Tripoli at that time, and I still do. I hit him up and I was like, hey, Sam, I don't have the money for this, but you want this. You should send me the money and I'll buy it and give it to you next time I see you. So he did, and he has it now. It's in Los Angeles with Sam Tripoli, which I thought that was a huge service to the podcast in a way. But yeah, it's a crazy card game. I mean, just very having it was a treat. I had it for a few months, and I photocopied every card. But
Nice.
Andreas and I did a whole episode on it when I had it in my
Ooh.
possession.
I will have
Dude.
to check that episode out. That is cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and I started a club a number of years ago that it was going to be the Illuminati virtual card game group, and it was designed so people could join and play the game on Facebook. But I got like thousands of Africans joining because they thought it was like to join the actual Illuminati, and they were like, "Where can I send the money?" And then there were other, and since I wasn't like a guy to do that, other people started posting in the group like, "If you want to join the Illuminati, call this WhatsApp number.
Holy shit!
Get your money together and check out." And all these pictures of me, and this is the house they gave me, and the 6 cars in Nigeria, and here's my new wife. It's like, what the heck?
Were they getting scammed, or did they think they were
assume.
applying to be better scammers? Like, oh, once I join the Illuminati, I could scam. Like, it's an African pyramid scheme. Like, you just need to prove you're in the Illuminati and you make lots of money on emails.
Yeah, it seems like it's a little bit of both, you know? I mean, obviously, on one hand, it's all voodoo because it's just you believe it and it's real. But at the other hand, that's kind of real. So you got people believing in a thing and they're building up a pyramid scheme. And you're also talking about an ideology that's about community, right? So you're joining the community, you're part of the community. I had this guy on my show the other night from Nigeria, and he was explaining this concept that they have as opposed to I think, therefore I am. They don't have that. They have I am because you are, right? And so, the interlocking I and thou
auto community. Wow, yeah,
right. It's like the way it's built into the narrative. So I see that as a major reason why the Illuminati appeals, but also because it just makes sense. Like, well, why do you think the world's the way it is? You've got these people with lots of money. You have a tuk-tuk. Do you know what a tuk-tuk is? It's like a dirt bike with a little taxi cab welded on the back of it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, tuk-tuks. And they got that compared to, so of course it makes sense that there must be something going on when there's a nepotistic group that's smaller. But the point of the game, right, is the opposite. And it's actually because Robert Anton Wilson from Santa, well, not from, but moved to Santa Cruz, lived there most of his life. This SubGenius church is about Bob Dobbs. Bob Dobbs is kind of it's Robert Anton Wilson, you know, but magical and a salesman and all these things. And they created this religion after Discord got touchy, because Discordianism is the religion about Eris, the goddess, and it's about, you know, chaos to an extent, but the subtle beauties of chaos. But if you look at the I don't know if that's a Freudian slip, JFK trial, the glove didn't fit. No. Lee Harvey Oswald was a member of the Church of Discordia, and so he talked.
Oh, really?
They made him bring it up for about 19 minutes in the JFK trial, or about Eris, Discordia, and all this other stuff. So there was a push to kind of the Discordians to move into a more, like, hey, look, the Scientologists are doing it. L. Ron Hubbard had met Robert Anton Wilson as well as Jack Parsons and been involved with, you know, the occult circles. So he's saying, hey, we could do something kind of funny like that. And so the SubGenius church started to be built. But then, you know, some years later, a fan of Robert Anton Wilson decided we'll make a card game, right? And that's the Steve Jackson, you know, Illuminati New World Order card game. And there's these many cards, but, you know, there's also, you could buy these little decks, and then you could play with just a few of the cards. You didn't need all of them. If you had a little bit of Illuminati power, then you could interact, because the whole point of the game is there's different people trying to take over the world, and they're using psyops. They each, you know, let me pull one out just so you can see what I'm talking about.
Sounds like it's a good movie.
To look for a card, I interviewed the founder of the Church of the SubGenius, Ivan Stang, and he was the most subversive guest I've ever talked to. He was the funnest old man. He was so kind and nice, but everything he said was Discordian, because that's his whole thing. Like, he didn't give us a straight answer once. I mean, right down to the beginning, his whole opening line was, well, one day I met Bob Dobbs, the salesman, and he took me to Tibet after I smoked some frop, and I got butt fucked, essentially, is what he said, by the prophet of this religion. And ever since the anal ramming that he received, he knew all the secrets of the Church of the SubGenius. So that's how it started. I encourage people to go and listen.
That's like a lot of people. Though, I'm pretty sure that, you know, Trudeau has a story like that. I mean, most people get their. That's how that happens. I'm going to really quickly show a couple card. Wait, it's the wrong side. Sorry. So these two, there's a media connections card, and here's a dictatorship card, right?
Holy shit. So
If you pull the dictatorship card, it says play this card during your turn on any nation which you control. This is an action for that nation, and again with a capital N in italics, or its master. The target is now in italics, a dictatorship. It gets a +2 power. It becomes violent with a also capital if it was not already. Link this card to nation, and so you can make your nation a dictatorship. The other one, media connections. This group of your choice becomes a media group. The group of your choice becomes a media group if it was not one already, with global powers equal to regular ones. All right, so let's say you pulled another card earlier that was like, let me find something for you. The frog card's really funny. I'm glad I pulled that. I should show that too.
It's amazing.
There's a
the
frog
synchronicities associated with this card game, however, are I think considerable. I think it's very interesting that this card set has cards that seem to reference very recent history, whereas these were put together. Say that. I'm sorry. Say that again.
Or future history as well.
So future history. Yeah. Yep.
So let me pull up an example of that. Then 9/11.
What's that all about?
Illuminati card. Let me see here.
I feel like it's a really good opportunity for a movie like Jumanji 3.
Yeah, I could see that being a thing.
The Secret Society edition.
All these fucking lizard people come out of the fucking closets and shit as soon as you roll the dice.
So the Illuminati card in 1995.
We run your life.
The terrorist
prices are going up.
The terrorist nuke card has this picture of the September 11th Twin Towers explosion.
Wow.
That was made in 1995, and it's pretty close. But it's called a terrorist nuke, right? Which is interesting because closer to some of the online, they're like, that was a missile and all the, the things that they like to say. It's kind of close to that. There's also This Is Enough. The Pentagon card has this interesting one as well. But the This Is Enough card's been associated with maybe a Trump kind of face or something like that. There's the quarantine card, an epidemic quarantine card, disaster. This is an attack to destroy any place. Does not require an action. Quarantine, right? So they've got a number of really interesting. There's an Assange card. There's just so many in the game. But the point is, the game is supposed to be about different powers that are fighting against each other. At the beginning of the game, you pick: are you going to be the Vatican? Are you going to be the gnomes?
Military industrial right? I'm sorry.
Right. The military industrial complex. Right.
Thank you.
It's simple when you think about how complex it is. But yeah, there's a number of dad jokes. I can't help myself. But so then the SubGenius Church cards are the expansion deck, and the SubGenius cards are all about Bob Dobbs, that dude. And the story of Bob Dobbs is supposed to be that he can sell snow to Eskimos, and he was a traveling salesman. And he always, whenever he shook a hand, he got the better of any deal. So he met L. Ron Hubbard's in an elevator. And again, this is a myth, but it's important. And when he shook his hand, he got the better of the deal, and he ended up with how to create Scientology better, essentially. And that's what led to the SubGenius Church. And so the idea is that there's Jehovah One, which is this radio station, kind of like the Mormons have the Star Kolob, and it's sending data through a Dyson sphere to Earth, and that we're interacting with that radio station, Jehovah One. JHVH1. Let me pull up.
Is Tom Cruise the highest ranking now?
Of the Scientologists, I think.
Yeah.
Miscavige is still,
Can he fly?
I wonder. There are all these cults that try to fly, but I remember they're just bouncing on the ground trying to do yoga a lot of the time. But the thing is, SubGenius is a lot less ridiculous than it sounds. That's kind of my point. Like a radio station called Jehovah One kind of makes sense. The idea that we're getting a radio signal, and that it's this wrathful alien space god from some corporate sin galaxy, considered to be identical with the god of the Abrahamic and patriarchal religions. Jehovah One contacted J.R. Bob Dobbs in 1953 through a television set of Dobbs' own construction. So this is kind of, and the many things told and shown to Bob during his divine immaculation were written down in the prescriptures, the most sacred text of the SubGenius tradition, excerpts of which were publicized in the 1983 book of the SubGenius. So I mean,
just hold on, just so I understand what it sounds like he's saying his religion is that, and correct me if I'm wrong. because it sounds familiar. It sounds like he's saying the religion that he's or the actual situation is that the world is being kind of guided by this radio station that is artificially taken control.
Yeah, essentially. And then there's another one. Do you remember the name of the
sounds like Gnosticism. That sounds like straight up Gnosticism.
Sounds to me like Riddler from Batman Forever, but
yeah,
without
and
TV and radio.
Boom. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's funny you said that. I was thinking Philip K. Dick's Radio Free Albumeth as well.
To the radio voice. His voice went nuts. Hold on. Edit mic settings. Are you okay? What happened with that? It was really loud. Sorry, Mark.
That was crazy.
Say that again. Yeah, I'm all right.
Mark, try it again with the lower volume.
Is that my volume? Am I coming in hot?
You were at one point.
Check.
Oh God.
Check.
It's pretty hot. It's pretty hot. Okay.
Coming in
Felt like
hot.
you just
is
rolled
my-
the
There we
Illuminati
go.
dice.
All right.
Yeah.
I was saying something about Radio Free Albumeth.
What's Radio Free Album Myth? What's that?
Why does that sound familiar? Yeah.
It's a novel by Philip K. Dick that eventually became the Valis series.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry. That's funny. I was just listening to the audiobook to Valis the other day. I love Valis.
I thought of it when you said radio whatever and he said Gnosticism. It all came together.
Yep. It's interesting.
Cool,
So that idea
cool.
that they're picking up on multiple signals. So John C. Lilly, the Echo the Dolphin program. So the government had this guy try to reverse engineer LSD for Albert Hoffman. One of the things he did besides that was give acid to dolphins and
Wait,
DMT,
hold up. Dolphins, Echo the Dolphin. Where was Echo the Dolphin connected to the LSD?
Not the
Man,
video game. Not the video game.
I can take you there because I have an interview with Ed Annunciata who made Echo the Dolphin the video game.
You mean
Wait,
you mean the
not
video game? You do mean the video game?
What other Echo the Dolphin is there, bro?
I thought it was like a military program, like Echo the
Operation
Dolphin,
Blue Jump.
Operation Echo the Dolphin.
Echo, Earth
Like-
Coincidence Control Office. And
See?
so what it is the idea that remote viewing and clicking the sounds, that they're able to do perhaps echolocation in remote viewing. And the government had so much money at the time. They're like, take it, go. Just give. What do you want? Ketamine, LSD? Just take this stuff too. It's what AMT.
Shoot them up. Let's see what they can find out. Tell me what the hell is on the moon. God damn it. Yeah.
And
Are you telling me that they gave dolphins ketamine?
Oh yeah, tons of ketamine.
Holy shit, they must have been
Dolphins
tripping
were
balls.
dropping in K-holes for
With LSD.
hours.
And I'm telling you, the scientists took it with the dolphins and hung out, and they lived in the house.
What? Wait, what?
I get you, dolphins.
I got like
get you.
I can't believe I got 6 episodes on Echo the Dolphin and SSI, and so
I hate that
You
game.
have 6
that game was very
episodes?
difficult.
yeah, I mean not
Wow.
counting the interviews with Ed Annunciata, but the deal it's such a huge thing because Echo the Dolphin, when they shut down the program because the lady was like jerking off the dolphin trying to keep the thing because it was in love
Wow.
with her and it was like beating the other dolphins, and finally the government's like, dude, the drugs and things isn't looking very good, even though they got the dolphin to do the alphabet in English. It's like, you gotta understand, we need to learn A, B, C, D, so they can do all of
Pretty
it.
good dolphin
Very good.
impression.
Dude, very
That's
good.
pretty
That was
good.
very nice. Yeah.
That's how much I've seen dolphins do the alphabet.
If someone told you to do like a dolphin alphabet impersonation, that's like a 10 out of 10 on the
That's a
spot.
dolphin talking to me. Yeah.
I could trick dolphins. It's part of my
Can you
training.
imagine if someone said, "Hey man, you want to do some ketamine and hang out with dolphins?"
I know, right? And that's the thing. Everyone's always upset at the government, but then you have to remember, like, they did acid with dolphins. Like, it's a kind of interesting group of people, regardless of the whole
It's a
story.
very happenstance situation that led to that series of events, though. I mean,
True.
it wasn't like, hey, dolphins, what do you got going on Saturday? You want to drop some
You want to
acid
do
with
some
me?"
LSD?
Yeah.
Well,
right.
it only
I
gets
got
weird.
some.
It only gets weirder because Jeffrey Epstein's house island is where this all happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
And so at the time, it was a bay open aquarium, so the dolphins could swim in. And then they had
Oh
an
my
area
God.
that was separated because they didn't want to lose the dolphin. But the dolphins would come back because they would just circle the Virgin Islands around the coast. And I've got this whole map in one of the videos that shows how it all worked. But then eventually Jeffrey Epstein bought the property. And it's interesting because Glenn Maxwell is so obsessed with the oceans. She said she was a citizen of Terra Mars when she went to court. They're like, you can't be a citizen, and that's a corporation. Oh, nope, yep, you are. You're a citizen of your corporate island that you created on this boat for Terra Mars Commons. So, I mean, it's a huge thing. Anyway, why I brought up the dolphins at all, because there's a couple of things there. One is the order of the dolphins, because SETI started they showed up with John C. Lilly. They all put on these little silver pins of dolphins, and they said, hey, if dolphins can speak English, or at least speaking to each other, then the Drake equation is simplified, meaning it is a foregone conclusion almost that we're going to find life that's able to communicate elsewhere if we found it at least twice on Earth in the same way. So we should start looking. And so SETI started, but they didn't want to call it SETI at first. That's a better name, but the first name was just the Order of the Dolphin. And that was the original.
Terrible, yeah.
No, but wait, it's about aliens. We swear. We are the Order of the Dolphin.
I mean, right?
It's insane.
You can't
dude.
trust dolphins, what they do to people and each other. But so okay, then John C. Lilly, who's the scientist who did all this, I swear it's all coming full circle. He did all this.
We're on LSD,
cool, man.
fucking
I'm
jerking off dolphins.
right.
Are we sure we're coming full circle, man?
Love it. No, I'm in it. I'm ready. I'm
flogging the dolphins, dolphin duck.
good.
I mean, my God. Yeah, no, continue.
We started hearing from the dolphins, and this has also ended up in the video game Echo the Dolphin, the whole story, right? Which is that if you ever played, I don't know if you ever finished the game all the way through.
I haven't
amazing.
finished it, but the
I had
soundtracks
to
are
watch.
amazing.
Soundtrack's great. I had to watch a playthrough. But
Michael
okay,
Jackson played that game all the way through. I was talking to Ed and Ed about some of the important
It was
people.
really good. I loved
Out
it.
to him over the years who finished that game. And yeah, so basically the game's about a dolphin who and it's named after the project Echo, but that's Earth Coincidence Control Office, because the dolphins were communicating and the ketamine spirits were communicating with John C. Lilly, with clockwork elves, all that kind of thing. And he found out there was at least two groups. One was Earth Coincidence Control Office, he called it, and the other was SSI, Solid State Intelligence. And Solid State Intelligence, get this, is the bad guy. And he was really worried about Solid State Intelligence, and all kinds of weird stuff happened. Like one time he was on a plane and he was doing ketamine on his way to Los Angeles, and he had some sort of a dream experience. I forget the whole scenario, but he ended up seeing SSI, contacting SSI, and they said that they were going to try to kill him or shut something down. But then Echo contacted him and said, we sent you back 10 minutes and just come out of the bathroom. And then all of a sudden he gets back and he's like, what's happening? And they're like, the Los Angeles LAX airport, a plane crashed into the tower because it shut down and we can't land there right now. So we're deviating course for this plane. We're so lucky because the only reason we're alive is because it was a near hit. There was a double landing happening that we would have been hit by that plane even. So it's just an anomaly. We don't understand. We're just a miracle. We're alive. We're going to make it. And so that was the beginning of his communication with, Echo about fighting SSI. And then SSI makes its way into the Echo the Dolphin video game, because the dolphin is finding out that every 500 years there's a reset, it says on the Sega Genesis game. And this blue whale and a turtle, or I think a turtle, maybe that's in a later game, but the blue whale lives.
Was made,
the blue whale lives for like a long time and just barely remembers the ending of the last cycle or something to that effect, and knows that it's coming now. A storm is coming. The reset is coming. And the queen of the Vortex, is that right? The Vortex Queen, I think that's what she's called, is this mechanical solid state intelligence that is from the future. And so the dolphin has to go down to Atlantis's ruins and find the time machine. And when you find the time machine, then you can go back and then you can go forward and you can go take to the time, you can lure the Vortex Queen back in time millions of years or more, or whatever it is. And then when it gets there, you have to defeat the Vortex. And all of a sudden, this beautiful Echo the Dolphin game, you're inside of Aliens versus Predator, and it's just freaking horrifying everywhere. And you're killing these giant, I don't even know how to describe them other than the alien face or the Predator face. But I guess Nautilus or what's the name of that kind of, not Cretaceous, not
Cephalopod. Yeah. Cephalopod.
No, I'm thinking the other. No, because not like a squid, like the shell, the mollusk shell.
Cetacean.
Cetacean.
It is cetacean. Okay, I was the first thing. I was like, it can't be right. Thank you, Mark. So the cetacean period is caused by killing the Vortex Queen and sending her back so far that she evolves into nature from millions of years ago. And so that's why we have these patterns in these certain shells. And that's the point of the Echo the Dolphin video game. And it's all because of the John C. Lilly thing saying, hey, this again in the 50s and 60s into the 70s.
Make it easier. Oh my God.
They're like, solid state intelligence is going to attack, and there's going to be these clockwork elves that are bad.
All right, so hang on. Now, that's what
Thank you for that breakdown.
That's what Echo the Dolphin's about, but now say it in one sentence.
Echo the Dolphin is about family.
No, that's too easy. Emily said, what the hell are clockwork elves? Apparently they're like interdimensional beings when you smoke DMT, and they're like, what's up? And they like...
Well, there's also extremely low frequencies. So if you look at the ELF band and the Schumann resonance, and there's the VLF band, the very low frequency band, there's energy there. There's nuclear resonance, even from nuclear materials from bombs that have been put after they've been put off. They've dissipated in the clouds, but then because of our radio waves, they've been bouncing. The radio waves ionize the clouds and push them, and they rise more. So we have actually a nuclear, cloud just above the Van Allen belt. Yeah. In the Van Allen belt, rather. So there's a number of places where there's been reports of UFOs or anomalies and things like that, and people have associated the idea that there are conscious entities, light entities, or something like that that are associated with the ELF band. And so Clockwork Elf, often connects to that. There's also the idea that when you see similar shapes in DMT, that you're just really looking at the resonance in between patterns and shapes. But what do you think? Do you think that there's conscious energy? I mean, we call Hurricane Katrina. Is it really what is it? What do we actually can surmise about Clockwork Elves?
I mean, I think you'd have to do DMT to be able to have an opinion, or at least know, right? Like,
I don't know about that,
right?
I think you get hit by a car.
Well, please, I'm listening.
I think that a lot of the time the gurus told us not to do drugs till you just get as old as possible, and you
need experience. Sir.
Yeah, I think that's a really important and relevant point. Like, so many kids think, hey, I'll have a young body when I go through this, so I'll be stronger. These old people, they're not strong enough to go through it anymore, and so I can go further than them, which is just the wrong logic, because it's not about your body, it's about your mind. And so you can destroy yourself because you're not prepared for the battle, and it's a serious life or death battle, and you can lose yourself at very least, even if you don't die. And I think that's the thing people do.
Is Echo the Dolphin about the actual game is about time travel and AI potentially, and extraterrestrials and futuristic technology and shit?
Atlantis, yeah, and recent.
Bro, I gotta replay this shit. That is crazy.
Great game. It's a really good game, and it's difficult at the beginning because they were worried that people were going to try to rent it, and so they wanted to. You got to get past that first bit, but then there's bubbles and things. You got to watch a gameplay of it, and you'll figure.
I'm
out.
not surprised Michael Jackson finished it, because the soundtrack of that game is fucking incredible, especially for 32-bit Sega. It was revolutionary music, really, really good.
32-bit's the best thing. The music's amazing.
We were talking back to a chat's question. What are these? Yeah, what are these machine elves? I'm curious. What do you three think? Do you think that there are entities alive, autonomous, on non-corporeal bands of vibrational spectrum? What do you
mean? What do you mean by that?
Do they exist, just not in physical form? We can't experience an interaction with them in the physical. But are they
couldn't it be like the Predator, where you're clicking through your visions, and the heat vision is one that maybe we don't have, that would help us see whatever could be in front of us?
I think you just hit a really great point, because you have to keep in mind every night when we sleep, we have a DMT experience. So maybe there were times in human history where we weren't bogged down with EMF or whatever is keeping us unhealthy these days, and things like fairies and all these other mythical creatures from folklore were a part of the DMT experience that we would have during the day. And since we've been so poisoned or beaten down, or the way a pig is not its fully developed version of what it could be, it's supposed to become a hog, but it's domesticated, right? We're like these domesticated humans to some extent. And maybe when we have this flood of DMT, we see too much. We're seeing the energy bodies of these beings that are keeping things, as far as energy goes, as far as the biome goes, as far as the natural forces go. These are the beings that we would call sliffs and
Mm.
you know, what are the ones for the water
Sylphs,
nymphs and-
undines, nymphs. Yes.
right, the elementals.
Dude, Adam Krigler was in the backstage for a second,
Very
but he
cool.
popped out because I didn't see him there while I was so obsessed with Sega Genesis. So if you come back, you're welcome back in. I'm sorry.
Adam was there. Nice. What's up, Adam?
So,
So, Doug, are you saying you believe in DMT elves, and what are they if you do? Like, explain it to someone who's like, "You're insane, Doug. You've lost your mind." Break it down. What do you think they are? Because a lot of people have noticed them, right? They all do DMT. Like, oh, there's fucking entities. What's that about?
well, and I have to preface by saying I've never done DMT, so I can't speak specifically on the DMT elves.
Technically,
I've read a lot about it.
It's in your head, though.
What is your head?
Well, he's never
What is-
smoked
what
it
is
in a
your mind?
pipe, is what he's. I guess. That's
But
fair,
I-
What I will say is that I've had enough experiences that I am now having to deal with a pretty heavy load of evidence that says, yeah, there are influences all around us, and it is not as if it is unnatural. It's just that, I'll leave it at that. That's what I'll leave it at. That it's going on. It's going on all the time. It's been going on.
Are there
And that-
DMT elves like on Earth? What is that shit? Are
Well,
they just,
but
you have
Earth
to
is
smoke
a
to see them?
simple
What is Earth?
physical plane. I think that if the DMT elves exist, they exist on a vibratory level of existence that doesn't need to sit on a physical planet. So I think they're here all of the time, unable to influence to any significant degree until we open up ourselves by, forgive all the new age words, resonating with a vibration that is more in, sympathetic union with where they're at by doing DMT. That's
How do you
what
know they're not? How do we know they're not malicious entities?
we don't. I'm not saying
You know
that
what
they
I'm
are.
saying,
That's
Andreas?
right.
How do you know
That's
they're
right.
not trying to fuck us
I mean,
over?
I'm pretty sure a lot of them might be. I don't think everything comes down to good or evil. It could come down to selfishness and short-sightedness.
Yes.
But it is. They're
What were those themes again, Andreas? Selfishness and
Short-sighted.
short-sightedness. Yeah. I mean, if you think about hell.
what a
and I was
wonderful
watching.
topic for the day. What did you say?
I was watching Sandman comics.
Ooh,
and,
how is that? How is that?
I'm the guy that's going to tell you it's great for
Okay.
the reasons that it is. There's some problems, obviously, that they ruined, and I think George covered them pretty well. Like the idea of John Constantine being removed is a bummer. That they have Joan Constantine is like, I hope there was a reason they had to do that or something with the, but it was. I really wish they didn't do that. And then the other problem was Lucifer, not just because they have an already Netflixed Lucifer they could have used, and I wonder if there was another, again, contract issue that they couldn't do that because it would have been great to expand the universe, but instead they didn't do the WB Vertigo universe right. Other than that, why it's awesome, because I think I said it before, and Call agreed, we've seen lesbians in prison perform Hamlet, and it was great, right? And so the words are saved. And so a big part of it is that they saved the actual story. And is it woke? Well, it was woke in 1980. So it's not as woke as it was then. But at the time, it was woke enough that it's woke. It's the right kind of woke. Because I've been kind of tired of the pendulum swinging the other direction as well. I think there should be, there's room for whatever it means to be in a progressive world, and they point out amazing things.
Absolutely.
I would say, to Andreas's point, a great example of where this could be fixed is Batgirl, dude. Because Barbara Gordon is fucking awesome, and I think every Batman fan knows Barbara Gordon is awesome. So if Warner Brothers had been like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do a Nightwing, Batgirl TV team project, and sometimes Batman will come in from the movies and guest star on the TV show. Maybe we can get the TV actors sometimes like as a cameo on the movies with Batman. Dude, you would have made so much fucking money. It would be insane. But instead, we got what they did, which is
we are here. Yeah.
But don't you agree, Doug? Like that would have been very popular. Very popular.
Wonderful. Boy, what an experience, and enjoying that blending of bringing the Batman universe into this more current iteration of what Bloodhaven and wherever we would go with Barbara Gordon. I mean, that would be, so much you could explore.
Yeah, I wish they did more with the Vertigo comics properly. But at the end of the day, the thing I was bringing up about the Lucifer aspect of the second and third episode, where he gets to get his helmet out of hell, is you realize, and I remembered it maybe more from the comic book, is that people in hell are there because of their own short-sightedness, and they didn't realize in the long term that it would have been better for them. And this is an old theme. You look at Dante's Inferno, you've got people that are chained up and they can't reach the plates in front of them. But they're chains are long enough if they thought to, they could reach behind and feed the people behind them, and they would go in a circle. So I mean, we're talking about these same kinds of concepts, and I think that a number of these Slavic and Aryan, Indian style myths about demons, Japanese stories about demons, they're ghosts of people, but they're not of the people.
What they called Yuri? They're called Yuri, right?
Right, but there's also daimons, and there's a number of different. There's a fox spirit thing that's also connected to this idea.
There's a werecat. There's legitimately a cat version of a werewolf leopard. It's fucking scary.
Which is way worse. I think that's
way more predatory.
An episode of my podcast come out where we talk to Peter Jenks, who lives in Thailand, and he has a whole section of one of his books about ghost altars and how, not just altars, but they'll consecrate amulets with people's ghosts, and the buildings in certain cities, they'll have like a tower in the center of the city, and they'll either, in ancient times, they would kill someone and their ghost would be the guardian of that monument forever, and now modern times they just dedicate it to someone who's passed away, but the idea is that person's ghost is guarding that area.
That's cool. I like that. I think that's awesome.
It's way better than mine. Mine's Croatian women and Serbian women. In the movie Cat People attest to this myth that there are witches that when they have sex, they turn into a cat or to a giant leopard, and they cannot turn back into a pretty girl or a woman at all again until they kill somebody. And it's a pretty weird. I don't know where the story could have come from, unless it's kind of got something to it. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Well, there was a time when that part of the world probably had leopards and all sorts of big cats, and I'm sure like where I live in Connecticut, there's no big cats, but every now and then a mountain lion roams his way all the way down to the coast. So yeah.
It's weird. We were talking about this earlier, the idea of like Tartarian agriculture and Europe after the year without a summer. And there's also a 1500s version, but basically these volcanoes go off, and then there's just long periods of darkness and cold, extended, hard to endure winters. And they could not grow crops. All kinds of things went extinct, and then they killed and ate as many animals as they could that could survive as long as possible. And so also a lot of animals, you'd see paintings and these castles that are gone. So if you think, wow, Europe had all these crazy things, and what happened to these giant birds and giant lizards? And, there are alligators and
they got it.
Yeah, there were, and these stories of dragons, kind of connects to that. But we think of, there's no food in Europe. They get the potato from Peru. What happened? We don't know, because most of the kinds of things that we're living off of, a lot of them just stopped existing. And especially animals. There's just all kinds of animals that we know, like the Anubis creature, right? We don't know if it was a mythological creature, but they think likely it was just went extinct. Whatever.
Anubis?
Yeah, right? Because he's
was
like
a real animal?
Yeah. But he's just extinct. Yeah.
Like a were
like a jackal dog, right?
Like a dog man, right?
There's
you're saying that an actual biped fox person.
Oh, not necessarily that, but yeah, that's also an interesting thought about genetic modification at that time. Because these stories of Atlantis, there's that great story in the Illuminati trilogy by Robert Anton Wilson, because that book is crazy. You ever read the Illuminati trilogy? Do you know what it is?
I'm familiar with it, yeah, but I've never read it.
I have it on the shelf back here. I haven't read it yet.
Awesome.
So Robert Anton Wilson not started out, but at a certain point, he was the editor at Playboy magazine, and he was editing for the conspiracy theory section. And he had a part. He said, "Hey, send in the weirdest conspiracy theories you have, in the 60s and 70s to Playboy." And eventually, he connected them all into this giant encyclopedia of. It's like, "Hey, these are the things I got. Some of these are probably not true. Some of them might be, but you can't kill me over it, because they're so ridiculous." But the Atlantis story's got genetic modification. Things are going really well. Then all of a sudden, also everyone's covered in furry faces. And then they decided we're going to genetically modify a bald monkey, like a bald man, bald-faced human. And
hair is so last year.
And the thing comes out.
Wait. We all used to be were people with furry faces.
And if you look at William Randolph Hearst Castle, he's got the wild men on it. And you go to a lot of cathedrals around Europe, you'll find pictures of men that are covered in fur, like dogs, the wild men.
Are you telling me, Andreas, that at some point in time, humanity was the space wolves from Warhammer 40K?
I mean, it makes more sense than how are we this bald, right? What's your theory on are you a water ape theorist? Do you believe that we went back to the water and that's why we have?
I never even considered that we could have been any animals, let alone the dolphins could smoke ketamine and fucking repeat the ABCs. That shit's fucking insane.
That's fair. Go full Catholic on this, but even then, you know, even with intelligent design, you know, there's room for changes in nature, right? And we see these micro changes, and the fact that we have the hair on your arm goes the other direction, so if you swim, it runs off of you. I mean, the fact that we can swim is very interesting. We must have come from a time when we were more amphibious than, you know. I mean, whales have stayed back in the water, and whales.
So you're telling me Kevin Costner Waterworld, but reversed?
Yeah. Have you seen whale skeletons?
Yeah, they got the extra bones. Is that what you're referencing? The extra
bones is a nice way to put it. Let me see if I can. Hold on. Skeleton.
Panda bears are what I want to know about. That shit's bullshit.
They got bones for stuff that they used to use, but they don't use it anymore.
Fastigious functions, right? Like the hair on our arms doesn't keep
that
us.
That sounds smart.
Yeah,
why do they have fingers?
Functions.
Why do they have fingers?
Because they used to write books underwater.
I like that. I mean, I mean, they've got whale bones that have been organized by cephalopods. Cephalopods have made art with whale bones before after they've murdered whales. So you know, and mammals are generally intelligent. Whales are pretty intelligent. They have kind of a language to them. Dolphins are whales, right? So I mean, we do kind of act like dumb. What do you think?
Do you subscribe to us being were people first or aquatic people first? Or is one like, did one never happen? Did neither ever happen, Doug? Are we wolfing, bro?
It's like genetic iterations that have compiled one upon the other through, you know, breeding and genetic tweaking. So that, we got a little bit from the water apes. We got a little bit from the dog people.
I want to go water ape, dude, because don't tell me when you guys watch Waterworld, when Kevin Costner went in the water, you're like, God, I wish I was a fish mutant. Yes.
I would be in the water all day. Yeah.
I know, dude. Yeah, man. You're literally Aquaman, dog.
I'm good.
Sign me up. Mm-hmm.
I love that movie so much. I mean, it's
so underrated. More appreciated now than it used to be.
It's not a good movie. It's not a good movie.
I would argue compared to today, it's phenomenal. Phenomenal film.
The bar is low. I understand. I get it, but I must hold true. That movie sucks. It's fun.
I don't agree. I disagree.
I like about half of it, like a lot. I think about half. I mean, I still think Postman's a better movie, but we're going Costner only.
Dances with Wolves, that's the shit.
That legit. That's a good. I like.
You know when he's removing all the dead bodies from the lake, like all the dead deer, all the dead fucking bodies. That was all real.
Oh, really? Wow.
They made him drag out corpses from a fucking rotted lake.
Okay, Kevin, go. Are you sure, you guys? It's real. Do it, Kevin.
I'm telling you, it was real dead bodies, real dead deer. Look it up. Look, if dolphins can repeat the alphabet.
No.
Kevin Costner.
I believe you.
Dude, I mean, dolphins are pretty weird, but okay. We had a thought just a second ago. I'm gonna lose it. What was it?
Pretty smart.
It was about water. Okay, evolution. Whether or not we've changed at all in terms of evolution, because I think that it's definitely overrated. We're saying, it took millions of years and we changed in all those ways, but did we really? But you look at some of these things like the Heidelbergensis, and they have fur-covered faces. The Australopithecus did as well. I don't think that they're that far off. I think that they probably existed simultaneously to us. So I kind of agree with Doug's here. Convergent, what do you call it? Gene flow concept that we're interacting with. Gene flow, right?
So like ancient, like primitive days, there was legitimate merfolk and werewolves.
Perhaps, yes.
So that's the Atlantis myth, right? So they say, hey, they genetically modified, created all these crazy different kinds of things that existed, and then they make a bald man, and the bald man's embarrassed because he's a freak, and everyone's like, dude, that's just the most messed up thing you could do. Why would you do that?
Guys? Yeah.
But the reason being that in the old days, the law was do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, like the Crowleyan idea. And it was that whatever you can do, you should achieve it. If you can make it happen, if you can dream it, make it happen, you know. And then this guy with a bald face comes along and he's like, really? Do what thou wilt? Is that the law? I don't know if that's such a good law. I mean, I feel like I kind of am the consequence of that law, and I don't like it. I have a weird idea. I propose this new law, maybe two. which are that if you think something is right to do, then you ought to do it. And if something seems like it would be wrong to do, then you ought not to do it. And it caused like this, according to the Illuminati trilogy, kind of caused like a revolution in Atlantis, which led to the collapse of civilization in one way or another, which I think is kind of interesting. You know, this idea that we might have changed our entire ethos and logic to right and wrong. And that might be part of our problem. Instead of thinking about what are the long-term consequences of these actions, you know, and should we do that based on that?
I just got to replay Echo the Dolphin, dude, because my mind was blown by the beginning of that shit. You know, I didn't know there was all that to it. The time travel.
Dude, is MetaMax here?
Hello.
What up?
Grüß Gott, Kollege.
Hello.
Ich habe mein Kollege Max Klaus, ja. Welcome to Sprockets. Sprockets, yeah. This is Max.
And this is how we dance. Hey, yeah, this is the German voice. Am I coming in kind of okay? Because my Wi-Fi really sucks over here. Yeah? Okay,
no,
fine.
Not that bad. I mean, it's a little echoey, but it's hilarious. Max is from Stuttgart.
Yeah, not anymore. Not anymore. It's Freiburg by now.
Oh, good job. Good job.
Oh, guten Tag.
You can take the boy out of Stuttgart, but you can't take the Stuttgart out of the boy. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I'll be a Swabian forever, Lo. Just 3 years fucked me up on that.
Dude, so he's from Germany. I met him in Denmark.
Oh shit! I got the lights are like kind of fucked, right?
Yeah, it's not angry worse. It's kind of. I mean, it's ominous. I don't know.
I lived abroad in Germany for a month. It was amazing.
Where did you live in Germany?
Bavaria. Bavaria, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Whereabouts?
I can't remember the exact village, but it was amazing. Like I spent a whole month just going to German schools, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. I love it.
Okay, that's not too bad.
I went to Oktoberfest only once, and I think I was like 17. It was incredible.
That's the best age to go. That's before you become embittered to all the drinking and puking and the groping on women and shit. Like 17 is the perfect age to experience your only Oktoberfest in life.
Well, then I did it. Let's go.
Yeah, you hit the sweet spot, you know? Like Love Parade back when it was a thing, like maybe 23 to 25, Oktoberfest 17. What else is there in Germany? Wagner Festspiele around 45, I would say.
Oh my God. This one. So I meet this guy because we're in Denmark, and at the time, somebody's disguised at a hummus place, and he's saying, yeah, with Americans, if only they were more like us, they would be better. In my country, I'm so proud that my country does this and that and this and that. It's not Max, by the way. And I say, yeah, I know the Germans are cool. I mean, next time try winning the war. And it just was this like eruption in Denmark. They're all like, what? You can't, the American, but he's American, so I don't know. And then after that, I started hanging out with Max a lot. We were wandering around looking at this whole area that they have these like. There's a bridge. He's like, look at this bridge. It's covered in these locks. Can you explain this story? What's the deal with that lock bridge again? What was the deal?
Okay, the lock bridge is like every European city has this by now because it's the Instagramification of Europe. I think it started in Prague, like Czech Republic. I think that was the first one, where like when you get a young couple and they're really madly in love, they would like engrave their names or their initials on a lock. And then they would put the lock on the side of the bridge and throw the keys into the river. And I think it started in Czech Republic. It might be wrong. Maybe it was somewhere else.
That's crazy.
And by now we have
rebelling against Soviet marriage licenses, and now it's become cultural.
Nowadays, like really all over Europe, at those touristy places, doesn't matter if it's Cologne, Germany, or Prague, Czech Republic, or Barcelona, or whatever. If you have a touristy place, like an Instagram spot, you will see a bunch of those locks anywhere. And it's really like, I lived in Cologne, Germany for 11 years, and there's this one really classical, like 19th century bridge, industrial bridge with those archways, you know? And it's a train bridge. And people started putting locks on those bridge, and people were like, we have to start taking those down because you cannot guarantee the structural integrity of that bridge. It's made for trains.
Millions of pounds of bonds, you know?
Yeah, and they had moments where like parts of the what do you call it, fencing? They have fencing, so you're not walking into the train lines. And the fencing was so full of locks, it just collapsed under the weight, and so they had to start taking those down.
Oh.
And so they melted down. They melted down a bunch of these into a statue of like.
Yes, exactly.
Moloch or something. It was just horrifying.
Jesus, Moloch.
Really? Moloch?
I don't know about melting down. That part I don't know about, but I just know that we get those lock places all over Europe. Like all those famous spots are full of those locks, and it's unsettling.
Well, so when I met Max, one of the things we were talking about, and Max was criticizing about Europe, is like, it's terrible. Like, they've burned things down. They've destroyed all the museums. They've got, I mean, a lot of the time they're closed up, you know, hard to get into, the tourists go. But the art on the street are these modern art, cubicle, you know, these weird modern structures that are lacking, except for the more Masonic ones where you've got like the Louvre pyramid or something like that. There are these weird, you know, ultra modern things that are escape and void of culture and history, right? And we talked a bit about Tartaria. I want to bring also up the Pentelegraph machine, because that was something we kind of ended on Call's show last week. You had asked a bit about Tartaria, and one of the things that I was thinking of as a great example is the Pentelegraph machine. And it's a machine that was essentially a fax machine. It has a pen that swings and it draws a picture and it sends signal over radio. And they say it's invented on here by Giovanni Caselli, right? At least he developed it and commercially used it in the 1860s. But when you go back further, you start to find examples of it in the 1600s, and that people were using it before this, maybe back into the Arab period in the 13th century. And so we can't really find it back in ancient India. We can't really find examples of how ancient the Pentelegraph really was. And one example of an ancient fax machine. And there's just so many things like this across Europe. The other one, of course, and I brought this up earlier on the show, is this siege of Vienna, which is, you know, we looked at this picture, pull this up, the siege of Vienna, and we've talked about star forts, right? Well, this is a star fort. You got the snowflake shaped fort, which is around Vienna, and then you got these trenches and tunnels and explosions and things, and the Ottoman hordes that are all surrounding it. And so at this time, Germany and Austria are considered to be maybe completely Christian, and they're trying to defend themselves against these no, that's not realistic. There are Austrian Muslims, there are Ottomans that have taken over villages and towns and have their own families. And it's a lot more convoluted. There's even Muslims living inside the city that eventually are pushed out. And so it's the beginning of this major disruption of European culture, of Eurasian culture, of the Muslim Spain connection to Holland. All of it starts to happen around that time. But Tartaria seems to be at the center of that. So when we think about it, we think about Germany. Germany was a place that didn't really exist as a country, right? Like when did they start calling it? They said the Republic of Germany. It's like the 1800s even.
Yeah, like that was the Paulskirche in Frankfurt, like 86, 96, something like that. Don't name me on that. I'm not that big on German history. But yeah, it's like 19th
not that
century.
big in German history, the Germans. See, this is what they've done to you. Look at what they've done to. It's not just because it's German. They just don't want history to be remembered. Exactly.
Yes, exactly. And also because German history's always been like portrayed as very fractured, you know, so many fiefdoms and so many lords and like so many kings and so hard to keep track of, and it gets sold to you as very complicated in school. And then you get to the Hitler part and the Nazi part, and that part is very simple because we are the bad guys. And then you learn about being the bad guys for about 5 years on end. Right. So yeah, that's like, it's a thing about subduing national pride. And that's what you do in the forms of how you teach your history. You know, if you only taught American history about slavery and the failings of Vietnam and Iran-Contra and stuff like that, then your self-image and your form of patriotism would be different as well.
True.
Right.
True.
Yeah, and that's the topic we're going to get to on Saturday. The topic of Germany being a cargo culture. We are like an imported culture that we get our stuff from the U.S. We have been ever since the Second World War. We don't have any autonomous expression of German culture. Very few examples. We'll get into that. And that is
Princeton's a cool band though. Das alles ist Deutschland. Oh, that was cool. Before they sold out. Come on.
In a way, that really is a German expression because they go back to the Thomaner Chor in Leipzig, you know, which is classical Catholic choir singing, you know, boys choir singing. That is traditional German expression of art, and that's where the Princeton come from. And so, in a way, even if you were trying to make a joke, you're right. The Princeton are one of very few examples of genuinely German expression of art. Werner Herzog is another one. But we'll get into that on Saturday. I'm just saying we don't have too much of a genuine own culture because most of us is a cargo culture implanted by the winning forces, which is mostly the US, but some of Britain, some of France as well. And in Eastern Germany, Russia, of course. And this supplanted this cargo culture, which formed our everything, our art, our TV, our media, our music, our pop culture, our cuisine. It doesn't matter. This cargo culture makes it really difficult to talk about what is German, what is German tradition, what stems from a place of Germanness, which wasn't implanted in the last, 70 years.
The same with Spain, the same with France, the same with England, which has a German
yes, but with different filters, because for them you couldn't use this angle of shame. Nobody has been shamed after World War II like us, like for the right reasons. Let's not debate that. But this factor of shame changes your view on patriotism and on self-love as a country. And that makes Germany so very unique when you talk about the aspects of Germanness, because most Germanness is very Catholic, is like imbued in guilt. Being German is being guilty.
Well, it's interesting also. Wait, Carl, do you like Rammstein? How do you feel about that?
Hell yeah, Rammstein. Yeah.
That's Du Hast, right? Du Hast? Come on.
Don't tell me they're evil now. I like them.
No, they're the best band ever. I love Rammstein.
Okay, good. I'm like, don't ruin it.
Don't ruin Rammstein. But there's a video for a new song, not that new, 2019, but it was before Plague, and it was called Deutschland.
Oh, I know Deutschland, yeah.
This song is just so important, and if you've seen the music video, you've got the Teutonic Knights that are fighting, and they're fighting for the queen, who is Deutschland, and she's a black nobility. Yeah, where's that picture at? I just lost her again.
Very cool.
But it's all through the history, so they're trying to explain the connections there to Germany to Arabia and to the ancient world. Here's some German coins, that all say Allah on them that I was looking through, and you can find a bunch of these examples of German swords. Let's see if I can find German swords, Arabic, and they would say like, defend me. Yeah, here's some examples where the German sword printed with Arabic on the sword itself, Ottoman style swords. Connecting the Turks, which makes sense. And so it's crazy. We live in this world now where we're saying, hey, we have to get back to our individualized cultures. We have this culture here, you have this culture there, instead of looking at it more like, we used to trade a lot more. We weren't as isolated from each other. Germans were going places like on Viking boats. Africans were arriving there. I mean, clearly it was a far more integrated society then, thousands of years ago or whenever, than it is now. What's going on with that?
I think it's certainly multifaceted. So I actually watched a very interesting video on this certain issue of disruption of individual thought as well as community interaction. Suspicious Observers is a channel that talks about the sun influencing our weather as well as geomagnetic fields shifting, changing, and affecting the human body because we also have our own magnetic fields. So apparently, at this point in time, we are rapidly decreasing in our Earth's magnetic shield strength due to the magnetic poles being in transit, about to flip, not the actual poles, but the magnetic poles. And it's increasing. And because of that increase, we as humans with our own mini magnetic shields and fields are weakened as well, and much, much more susceptible to interstellar radiation, X-rays, UV beam, like photon, anything shooting from space is going to mess with you a little bit more nowadays, and it's only going to ratchet up. And so we are going to experience a bumpier ride for a time.
Do you guys believe the pyramid thing with energy patterns, and we're living in a environmentally changed thing, or because of the pyramids? Is it connected?
I have no idea, but it's
we were kind of talking a little bit about this on my show, Xirtus, just this afternoon. So wow, it's kind of cool that you brought that up, Douglas. I think this is a part of the world changes that we're experiencing, and maybe the result of multiple cataclysms. And we're told that there was some kind of ice bubble that was once a part of the atmosphere, and that melted, causing the great flood that's been recorded by nearly every culture. So I think there's certainly that potential that we're heading towards something, but I don't know if it's necessarily bad, because as me and Andreas were talking about, this could be the 1,000 years of golden age that we were told about, and they just wrote it out of history and keep bombarding us and keeping us in this state of obedience and sort of oppression is the word I'm looking for, in order to control us in this time that should be a golden age where everyone has access to the Akasha records and we can all use this collective consciousness to work together and co-create a better reality. They have to get ahead of that by brainwashing, conditioning, shaming us, and yeah, I think
shaming's a big one. I mean, shaming. I mean, we were talking about that with Germany too, but like, and shame is a tool used on everyone these days. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, shame you into compliance, shame you into the right opinion. I mean, look at how much they've shamed and humiliated Novak Djokovic from Serbia just for simply wanting to have bodily autonomy. It's insane.
Right.
It's a powerful tool, man.
I mean, it's funny. We're headed towards that point or that precipice where, you know, they keep saying the reset's coming, but if the reset already occurred, and this is something that Mark and I were talking about earlier, this idea that some people like the Bogomils thought the Armageddon was the Crusades, right? And that they were now living after kind of the Armageddon. And according to the Tartaria Fomenko timeline, Christ is 1,000 years ago, not 2,000 years ago. So all of these things that we're imagining happening 2,000 years ago, there's these caveman times essentially compared to people on horseback with weapons like crossbows. I mean, the difference is huge, right? You know, it changes everything when we realize how close something was. And this idea that something was 1,000 versus 2,000 isn't that big now, but at the time it's huge because it's the difference between 100 and 1,100, right? Or something to that effect. So they're thinking to themselves, wow, you know, Jesus was so long ago, I don't have to worry about it. Or, you know, whatever you tell me, I'll believe that's the character. I guess, you know, he wants me to surrender and be docile like a sheep. I guess that's what you guys are telling me. So, but that's not necessarily the way things were, right? So what were we doing 1,000 years ago? You know, what were the Crusades really about? I mean, we just saw pictures of Ottomans in Vienna, in Austria. These are German and Austrian. This was more of a civil war, right? Not necessarily that the Arabs came and invaded. It's more that there's a fight going on between two sides. It might be worse. It might be that it was a bunch of people versus just the church. But that's where we're at. We're at like a point where history just starts to change immediately after the control mechanisms are put in place.
It's insane, boys.
History is written by the winners. So who was the winners, you know? So who wrote it like that? Who wrote it like that for us to, who made us swallow that story, if you want to believe it's a story, you know?
Not only that, but it's like every war has its winner, which means how do you trust any of history? Because it's always being written by a certain perspective, no matter what time period we're talking about, right?
Not only that, every war has a winner on all sides, because after World War II, there was enough winners inside the German population as well, because they still had some goods to trade with the occupying American or English forces, or because it's still something to make money with on the black market with the fellow Germans who did bad. Like, of course, war is terrible, but there's always a winner, always somebody that comes out on top because he still has, I don't know, a fridge full of cans of beer. I don't know. I don't know. Advantage can be if the times are dire. Advantage can be simple. You know, the Fallout games, the PC games, Fallout. You trade bottle caps. You know, that's such a strong image, in my opinion. You trade bottle caps as money because why the fuck not? It's so arbitrary, anyways. So in the post-apocalypse, why should we trade bottle caps?
Plus, they look cool, right?
Yes, exactly. It's like Pogs,
Collectible.
you know?
Sound like coins a little
They're like
bit.
Pogs, baby.
Yes,
Yeah.
they
Little jingle jangle.
My money's still jingle jangle, you know? It might be the apocalypse, but my
Gotta be
money's still
worth
jingle jangle.
Yeah, get drunk off some Kansas beers and make it rain at the strip club.
Yeah, exactly. And okay, we got a little off track, but what I was saying is every war has winners on all sides. There's a bunch of people in Afghanistan that are really fucking happy, and a bunch of people at Blackwater that are really fucking happy. So I don't know. It's all just economics in the end.
What about the Sahara Sea? Have you guys heard about the Sahara Sea?
No.
Yeah, it's the Sahara Desert, what it used to be.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
there's that, and that's true, and that's important, and we should not dismiss the fact that very recently this was Chad. Lake Chad was huge, and in fact, this map's inaccurate because we're seeing so much desert here that wouldn't have been desert because the Tamanrasset rivers would have connected. Most of Africa would have been green into the Congo, and the Lake Congo even, you know, is much bigger than it was before. So of course, Africa was filled with water. And this
So
was
the Congo rainforest is basically like a lake basin without the water at the proper level that's now overgrown into a rainforest.
right. It's been drained out because it's a higher elevation than it is on the plateau in the Sahara, and they use that to the advantage of Egypt in order to drain water for maybe a few centuries. And it seems like, okay, so that I'm gonna, before I go too far, the idea here is that this was thousands of years ago, millions of, it's supposed to be a long time ago, but it wasn't, and I'll prove it. And the first thing I want to say is this is the Sahara Sea project. It is the name of a hypothetical macro engineering project proposing the flooding of the Endoric plain basins in the Sahara Desert. And so they
was that Gaddafi shit? Was that what Gaddafi had in mind?
This started before Gaddafi, but he continued it. In 1877, Scottish entrepreneur Donald Mackenzie first proposed the creation of the Sahara Sea, which kind of gives you an idea of what I'm proposing here is that it wasn't that long before 1877 that there was a Sahara Sea. And that they figured that they could just, rebuild it. And his idea was to cut a channel from one of the sandbarred lagoons north of Cape Juby, and the traders identified him as El Juf. If you go further down, you'll see this is the idea that the oases would come in here, it would fill up, and then over a period of time, maybe 50 to 100 years, feedback loops would extend it, and eventually you'd have a river system that connected it to what's left of Lake Chad. And even modern design plans have said, hey, we'll be able to repopulate or implement areas will be turned back to lakes. Of course, lots of people would lose their homes that they've had for the last 600 years, which is, by the way, what we think this maybe was from the 14th century to the 18th century dried out. So
is there evidence of settlements that are along the perimeter of this lake, like prominent cities that are still maybe connected through some sort of history along what would have been the coast?
Right. Well, so part of the deal is Niger and Gaddafi's Libya connect through what would be these areas around it. And there are volcanoes that have gone off in that area. Let me see if I can find out the ancient origins volcano Africa. Let me see if I can find that. No, wait, nuclear. I'll try that. I might show up nuclear Libya.
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with Jeffrey Drum, but you ought to have him on your show because he's been doing some research into the chemical aspects of the pyramids and how they were a part of a nuclear device, potentially, all in conjunction with one another.
So the idea that it's built on top of a geyser is proven, and the geyser is probably some sort of, technically, volcanologists would claim it as some kind of a volcanic hotspot. But let me see. Is this right? So this city here is an oasis, and it's where they found this crazy desert glass. Let me see if I can find, and all these crazy buildings and these underground areas.
That Libyan tektite?
Yeah, the Libyan tektite. There we go. Libyan tektite. That's what I'm trying to find the name.
Tektite is spelled Tekite.
Tekite.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, and then so this is this desert glass that was produced, and it's supposed. Let me see if I can find the ancient origins page, because they did a good study of it, showing it's pretty difficult to make unless you have super high temperatures that could only be achieved during kind of a super hot nuclear blast,
right? Yeah,
or some sort of volcanic nuclear blast. Which we also should show the Oklo nuclear volcano natural reactor, 2 billion year old natural reactor. Earth only known, they say, but they found several actually since then, and they found
glass. Oh, cool.
Physicists respond that all natural uranium contains 0.720 of U-235, but they found 0.717, which means 0.003% was missing, which equates to something like 6 major nuclear bombs going off. And so this volcano has also produced plutonium naturally, supposedly, using these flumes that are like long accelerators that are lead lined from liquid lead that have been dried in these flumes. So it's kind of impressive if nature did this on its own. But that's the beginning of this idea that we had a reset, and parts of it included these parts of Africa. But again, this all happened recently, and we always have the Graham Hancock idea, and I bless him for trying, but he's not allowed to talk about things that were recent, because all of these scholastic academia are saying you can only say that before our official history that we agree on is true. You can start talking about that. But as soon as you start to criticize the Pseudo-Isidorian decrees and the Mehmet I in the Ottoman Empire, then you start to criticize us. And so you can only talk about this ancient time, but you can't start to say, hey, feedback loops that existed have actually dried this up in the last few centuries, and that's why they're called wadis, because the wadis is where the water would flow and then dry out. And so you have these valleys that look like the Grand Canyon in parts of Africa. Some of them are filled in with sand now, but they're these ancient river systems from the Taman Rasset. So, I mean, they existed so recently, and we just convinced ourselves that this is it. This is the way things have been for millions of years.
It kind of reminds me of what you were talking about with LA, like having like an island. Remember you were saying that California was slightly submerged at some point?
If I find that map, I do like that.
Yeah, have you seen that, Doug?
Oh yeah, I like that map. That's cool.
It reminds me of Chinatown, dog.
Dude, I was just watching Chinatown the other night. It's so good.
So
It's
good.
a great movie.
Classic. Now, do you guys think we're going to see any kind of great geographical disruption like this in our lifetime?
I hope not.
Yes, most likely, yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Elaborate. What do you think?
Yeah, what do you think?
You guys remember when that volcano erupted in Iceland a couple years ago?
Yes.
And all airplane travel was like halted for almost a week or two, and was just like atmospheric, like dust was so dense that they couldn't navigate airplanes anymore. And that was a hiccup. That was a little sneeze, that was the tiniest little sneezy peasy the Earth did. And I think in our general lifetime, maybe there'll be another just slightly bigger sneeze that already will disrupt our perception, our false perception of us being masters of this planet into whole new perspectives. There's a bunch of happenings that are bound to happen, like Mariana's Trench or the super volcano under Yellowstone Park or shit like this. Why the fuck not?
Yeah, the super volcano under Yellowstone is supposed to have gone off already, so we're just waiting for that.
Yes, that motherfucker is like 100,000 years late by now,
Well, and you're right that we assiduously believe that we're the masters of this planet. I think cataclysms are a direct result of our mismanaging our role as keepers, stewards of the biomes of various
Again, this is what I want to get into with Andreas on Saturday. My topic is social climate change. The way we use climate change to affect social climate. The way you use climate change to guilt people, guilt trip people into paying that buck extra to be carbon neutral, or don't do that trip to Cabo this year, or shit like that.
Not only that, but also like keep voting for me. How many decades do you have to hear that shit? Where it's like, if you don't vote for me, the climate change. How many decades?
Not only that, I mean, isn't it refreshing to hear that accent talking about climate change? I mean, Max, this is refreshing.
You make a good point.
What do you mean? Sorry.
Like Greta Thunberg. It was a terrible joke. My fault.
There is
I can't help my accent. I try my best with the foreign language here, but I can't help my accent.
I love the accent.
I love it.
Yeah, you sound awesome. You sound awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. Doug's a voice actor, so take that with like a amount of.
But anyways, the point was it's climate change. Maybe we could debate about that all day. We none of us are climatologists. None of us have any idea what the fuck's going on with this fucking planet. Okay. True. But that's not the point, because apart from climate change, there's this social climate change. And that motherfucker is boiling up in the last 10 years like you wouldn't believe. And that's a new form of Catholicism. It's a new form of guilt tripping. Yes. Be good here, but it's like, be good here so your children can have a good year. It's not for the afterlife, but it's for the afterlife of your children, which is in a way even more demonic. Like, doesn't every parent have the best of his children in mind? How the fuck, why would you weaponize that even more? It's an insidious guilt trip.
It's such 12th century plague banter. It's like, you know what? Don't worry about this. Don't worry about this world. There's going to be a better one.
Yeah, no, but if you nail that rat over your doorstep, then the plague will you will be, And if you just nail these couple of emojis into your Twitter account in your bio, this rainbow and this little unicorn and this little gherkin and this, just the right amount of emojis and the right amount of pronouns, and then the plague will avoid you, brother. It's that easy.
Dude, did you see the Josephus videos I did on Akhenaten and Moses, right? Have you seen that shit? So check this out. Here's Moses's, and I got to comment on that also. So just
I gotta go off for a bit again. Sorry.
Oh man, all right, he'll be back. But so
No, I'm
Moses,
still on sound. I'm just gonna put the camera off for a bit.
yeah, it's fine. They say
You know,
okay.
terms of service. I don't want Susan to see me do anything that's not in terms of service.
I hear that. Susan is as Susan does.
Susan
I
is
love Susan. I love Susan. I love Google. I love YouTube. I love Susan. Everything's fine. I'll be back in a second.
So
loves the system.
Moses-like figure probably existed historically in the 13th century. Moses' life probably corresponding 1391 to 1271. Akhenaten will do now. 1353. This is his reign. So get back to his life. Is it going to say? But 1351 to 1334. Right.
He looks like an alien, bro. Straight up.
Totally. He does
Straight
look
up.
like an
Alien,
Obama alien. Yeah. And the connection is there between Moses being at the exact same time, having a monotheistic cult, leaving Egypt, being the brother of the Pharaoh by adoption or whatever, and connected, raised speaking Egyptian, not Hebrew, right? So he didn't really, Moses didn't speak Hebrew very well because he was living in the Egyptian court, right? And he was raised by an Egyptian mother, and this is the whole thing. So he leaves, starts his own cult, and we talk about the falling of the wall and the falling of Jericho and this ancient holiday. Well, they've also got the fall of Amarna, right? Which is his city, right? I mean, if you can find Amarna. Amarna. There we go. Amarna is his city, and it was taken apart stone by stone because he worshipped the son of the god, right? Which was the actual the Aten. And
do you think, Andreas? Oh, I'm sorry, Andreas. Do you think? Because remember when like the archaeological digs in the early 1900s in Egypt were like at their peak? Remember that shit?
Yeah.
Like, it was hot. It was hot, right?
I wasn't there, but yeah.
Right, but you know what I'm talking about. Do you think that they were digging and then we had some straight up freaking, what's the Bruce Willis movie, Fifth Element? Like, did they find some crazy ass shit? And they're like, all right. Because didn't the Egyptian government be like, you can't be here anymore? You can't go in.
Yeah, they actively do that. Like,
out.
you can't, yeah. This is off limits for you.
I think so. First off, like, you look at the 19th century, and you had a lot of grave robbers, and they went down to Egypt, and they did what they could, but they weren't finding things for years. And then finally, they were going to shut down the project, and they lose financing. And that week, they find Akhenaten's, and also the tomb of the pharaohs, the king's tombs. And so it is very suspicious. And when you start looking at some of the iconography, the idea that some of the stuff was fabricated, collected, brought all together to make a really impressive singular thing where it's like of all these different pieces. Even the idea, because they say that Moses's body was taken by God, so it couldn't be found, right? Which is similar because they tried to hide Akhenaten's body, right? So if this is the case where it's the wrong body or something like that, they've done genetic tests. Some of the stuff is real, some of the stuff isn't real, is the point. But there's some really impressive stuff. For instance, the Book of Abraham. Joseph Smith, he bought 9 mummies. The Skull and Bones of Yale took several of the skulls of the mummies that belonged to Joseph and Abraham, supposedly. And everyone thought that's ridiculous. What's the likelihood that Abraham and Joseph's, Egyptian mummies could exist? But that is the official narrative, and it makes plenty of sense according to Josephus of why Moses was in Egypt at that time. Because Joseph gets in, there's a flood. He's an economic supervisor. You've got this story that he tells dreams, but it doesn't matter. He just says, let's collect food, shut off the flood season, because there's 3 seasons in Egypt instead of 4. You've got summer, drought, and flood, right? Or harvest, really, kind of. You got things are growing, but there's not the rain season so much. It's the flood season at the time because it's coming from Ethiopia down the mountains into the Nile. So what we'll do is we'll control all that, and when it comes time for people to flood the lands around them, they won't be able to have 4 acres or hectares of agriculture to support them over the year. They're going to have to come buy it from us. And then when they do, they're going to run out of money. Then they come in the next year. And this is supposed to be 4 or 7 years, right? He says the next year after that, you got to buy more grain. They're like, we don't have any money. He's like, that's fine. Just sell me your cattle. And they're like, well, we were farmers. We need our cattle. So, well, you can keep using them. I'll just want a tax off the top of that. I'll just own the cattle while you use the cattle. And then Pharaoh's like, that's brilliant, Joseph. We'll do it. And then as time goes on, the next year happens. They're like coming back and they don't own any cattle anymore. He's like, well, just sell us your land. Give us your land. But we need our land. Well, you can keep using the land, but you're going to have to pay us a tax every year. And this is the beginning of a lot of these ideas of land tax, income tax. It all comes back to Joseph at the time when he's running the Hyksos period of Egypt, right? And so that's official history. That's essentially what normally we talk. The Hyksos part's a little hard.
Have any connection to the term Hicks?
Oh, that's interesting.
Because when I was a kid, I had a bunch of friends from the city, and because I wasn't from the city, they would call me a hick. They'd be like, "Oh, you're a hick," like you don't talk like us. You're a hick.
That'd be interesting because the Hicksal were the foreigners. So in a weird way, it is a very similar, even if it's a coincidence, it's a very similar kind of idea.
Fascinating. Yeah.
And they associated Anubis with being part of the god of the foreigners. So, and Seth too, Set particularly became important as the god of the foreigners because of chaos, the chaos that was brought. But then the foreigners were in charge, right? Under Pharaoh, you had the foreigners in charge that were running the administration. And then
So I'm going back because this is a lot. Are you saying the Skull and Bones organization has Moses' skull?
That is the story. Along with
crazy.
Along with Geronimo. And Mark is actually.
I've heard the Geronimo one, but I've never heard Moses. Like, damn, that's some biblical shit, dog.
And Joseph. Yeah, and Mark he's working on a thing on the Skull and Bones, actually. How's that going, Mark?
Great. It's going to be an audio documentary on Skull and Bones, and we're going to have a video portion to it as well. But it's coming along smoothly, and Andreas has been a part of it. He'll be a part of the final product.
Dude, and you've got a lot of people around Yale and everything because you're on the East Coast there, so you can find your way to the truth about.
Oh well, I'm only 20 minutes away. But speaking of which, I got a jet. This has been another fun Wednesday Ultra. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure meeting you, Darth Call and Max.
You too.
And Douglas.
I actually have to jet as well, boys.
My pleasure.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I think we're coming up on the end of the 2 hours. I was gonna say, guys, you want to tell them where they can find your content? I'm gonna pull up the links right now. My family thinks I'm crazy. I'll go with
My family thinks I'm crazy. You know where to find me. I'll be back on Wednesday Ultra. This is always fun.
It's a great name for a show, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Have a great night.
Have a good one.
Peace.
Bye.
Dude, and Darth Call, I know I'm going to pull up the Call 2 channel. I think I have it sent in a link.
We're going to get the old one back, but yeah.
Let me just pull it up for people, though, and I'll put it also in the chat again. Guys, make sure everyone watching tonight, we're trying to get as many subscribers. You got 46 now. Let's get the rest of the 96 watching to subscribe to Darth Call's channel and push them over the edge. We want to get 1,000. By tomorrow, it would be great if you can get him back on track with his backup channel. And then when he gets his other channel back, he'll have 2 channels, and that'll be even better. But, in the meantime, he'll be able to put out content and get this stuff going, and hopefully you get even more views. And, it's important. It's important, guys.
It's important. And you guys can follow me on, obviously, that YouTube channel. You can also follow me on Twitch. That's honestly my largest platform. That's where I got started being Darth Maul, playing as Darth Maul in Battlefront 2. Jack Sparrow's Jack Sparrow.
Go to twitch.tv/DarthCall?
Just /DarthCall. It's just Darth Call on Twitch. You can check it out there. You get my about. You can see all my faces, all the impressions and shit. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, Imgur. I have every platform. So if you just search Darth Call, you'll find me. I'm going to probably be live in a little bit on Twitch, just sticking around on Mass Effect.
Nice.
But and for future projects, I'm going to TwitchCon in October as Darth Maul to get a lot of cool videos. So either that's going to go on my old channel, or if the world is evil and fucked up, I'll just make another one, get that one to 1 million subs. Either way, it's going to happen. So
yeah, you're well on your way. And then Mr. Douglas with the 3 Douglas.com.
MISD3RDOUGLAS.com. Yes, visit my YouTube page if you like.
So I want to point this out actually while you're still here. Is the story of Galano is freaking amazing. Did you write this?
Yeah.
That's
like
Galano
project. Yeah, Galano.
Oh my god, it's amazing.
I know how to pronounce it. Yes.
Yeah. Well, let me jump to that so you can find the story of Galano.
Thank you.
Oh, I thought it was
fun little treat.
I thought it was a 30s. I thought it was a 30s comic book that you translated, and I saw your name on it. I'm like, no, wait.
Mm-hmm. I did painstakingly mix around with that cover, though. I'm happy you like the cover. That's cool.
Oh man, it's really marvelous. And so, guys, make sure you go to Mr. Douglas's YouTube and also subscribe there. We got to push him over the edge.
His cat does good voiceover work as well in Galano. Yeah, phenomenal voice actor.
Phenomenal voice actor.
I recruited that voice actor. I saved that cat. It was
a real talent scout right there.
Talent scout, baby.
Shit. Dude, and MetaMax is going to be here on Saturday, and we will be talking about Deutschland über alles.
Yes, Deutschland and Europe, and like the current climate and climate change.
Europa, yeah. and Turkey,
sounds
because I
awesome.
can't these
Yeah,
days.
that's
I think
cool.
about Turkey when I think about Germany, and I
Oh
don't
yeah,
think
we can talk about Turkey as well. If you okay,
And
I'll
maybe,
listen to that.
MetaMax, it's great to meet you. Maybe you can help me
Yeah.
get my German back, because I used to speak German a lot, and it's probably pretty rusty, but it'd be great to try it
Yeah,
again.
I'll be back here if you guys want me. No problem.
Dankeschön.
Sie sprechen Deutsch, ja.
I got
Pleasure.
no pages to plug or anything right now, but maybe in a while.
Yeah, it'll be
Nice.
cool. All right, guys, it's been fun.
All right.
We'll see you guys next time, and like and subscribe, not just to me, but Darth Call, Douglas too.
Everybody.
Andreas, you're awesome. You are awesome, Andreas. Thank
You
you.
are.
Thank you very much.
Love, brother.
This is
Love.
You
a
guys are.
fantastic way to spend my Wednesday. I really love it. Thank you.
It is awesome. If it was too much awe, it'd be off full. So it's just the right amount of awe. I appreciate
Right
it.
on the edge of awesome.
I'm gonna go watch some
baby.
Echo the Dolphin, y'all.
Yeah,
Dude,
for real.
yeah,
That's
right?
right. That's what I'm doing
Hey.
tonight.
If you do that, I will watch your whole stream. I can't wait to
Hell
get
yeah.
into that. It's gonna break your mind. All right.
Yo,
peace
what?
out.
Peace
Bye,
out.
guys.
Take care of yourselves.